I'm Tom Shillue in for Greg on this very special edition of Gutfeld. So, Kamala Harris's advisors admit their internal polls always had her trailing Trump, and they were surprised to see her strong poll numbers in October. Even more surprising, Kamala had advisors. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton slammed Tulsi Gabbard, saying she's unqualified to be Director of National Intelligence. He may have a point, since her resume doesn't list instigating a coup. Bargain hunters are gearing up for Black Friday. In fact, right now at Walmart, there's already a half-hour wait to get trampled to death. Kamala Harris told supporters, don't ever let anyone take your power from you, especially because under her administration, the price of power has never been higher. In Wisconsin, a 10-year-old student called 911 for help with his math homework.
I like that kid.
Proving the real emergency is Wisconsin needs more Asian students. Actually, that's who you call. James Carville is blasting Kamala's Gen Z staffers, calling them snot-nosed 23-year-olds. To be fair, he has gotten burned by young staffers before. Disney is offering to pay female workers $43 million to end their class action lawsuit over gender pay disparities. Disney plans to raise the money by selling half a dozen bottles of water at the gift shop. You got that one. I'm glad. You've been to Disney. Developers of a new AI generator claim it can create sounds never heard before in the history of the world. In fact, we got our hands on the software, so let's test it out. AI. Create a sound never heard before in the history of the world.
Great job guest hosting, Tom. Everyone loves you.
Ooh, AI, I'll get you. All right, let's get to the monologue. With Thanksgiving tomorrow, I thought we could start by reflecting on some of the things we should be thankful for. It's not just the state of the country and its future, because frankly, it's looking brighter than last year. But for the little things, too. Me, I'm thankful for hosts who take time off. Yeah. Others are thankful for space heaters and leg warmers. But everyone's thankful for something. For some, it's another day of breathing. For others, boxed wine.
Just met me.
Some are thankful for hot nannies.
Yeah.
Some are thankful for gravy. Yeah. Others are thankful for the new pumpkin spice Botox. Some are thankful for recent achievements, like setting the world record for bench press. And some are thankful for new opportunities, like the chance to return to Minnesota, never to be seen again. Whoa! We're all grateful for that? I think so. And we're grateful for the fact that we won't have stuff like this for the next 4 years. Great jazz hands, huh? And along with that, I'm thankful that we get to eavesdrop on these wonderful election autopsy discussions from the left.
The vice president was thinking about going on Joe Rogan's show, and a lot of the younger progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit. Let me tell you exactly what you tell these people, what I would tell them. Not only am I not interested in your opinion, I'm not even going to call you by your name. You're 23 years old. I don't really give a what you think. Some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying I'm going to resign if you don't do this. Not only would I fire that motherfucker on the spot, I would find out who hired them and fire that person on the spot.
I'm kind of with Carville on that one. Who doesn't love firing some MFers on the spot? But the point is, the left keeps looking for someone to blame, like Kamala's campaign manager. You know, the woman responsible for a campaign that made the Titanic look like a pleasure cruise. She says it wasn't our fault. Yeah, especially when it came to the lack of Kamala's interviews.
I do think a narrative, 107 days, 2 weeks talking about how she didn't do interviews, which, you know, she was doing plenty, but we were doing in our own way. We had to, you know, be the nominee, had to find a running mate and do a rollout. But real people heard in some way that we were not going to have interviews, which was both not true and also so counter to any kind of standard that was put on Trump. Being up against a narrative that we weren't doing anything or we were afraid to have interviews is completely.
Yeah, Trump never had to worry about it because he was out there doing interviews, dummy. But what I'm really thankful for is that we're talking about this instead of the Kamala Harris presidential transition. Because can you imagine if they had won and we had to watch President-elect Harris assembling her cabinet right now, preparing her new administration by nominating a who's who of media hacks and D.C. swamp creatures. So this Thanksgiving, I am beyond grateful, actually. I'm feeling pretty unburdened by what has been. Yeah. In the end, we're all grateful for the captain of the pirate ship that's about to invade Washington. Let's welcome tonight's guest. The secret ingredient in her cooking is love and Smirnoff. Fox News anchor Julie Banderas. He looks like your wife's tennis pro that you're worried about. Comedian Jeff Dye. It's not Thanksgiving yet, but she already feels stuffed. New York Times best-selling author and Fox News contributor Kat Temp. And the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, he looks the floats right in the eye. It's New York Times best-selling author, comedian, former Okay, let's do this autopsy. Tyrus, I really want to ask you this. I've been meaning to ask it because of everyone. I'm telling all my friends this because I was pretty confident in a Trump victory, but I wasn't certain. But you were certain. And I'm telling everyone, what was it that Tyrus knew? Why were you so confident so early on?
Because I play outside. I go outside, I talk to people. Everywhere I went on my tours and wherever I was at, it was the same thing. I never, ever saw a Kamala bumper sticker anywhere. And anyone who had like a sign in their yard, it was always a lonely person. So it was never these big groups of people. There was always small groups that were going after. It was never these giant mobs of people that went after you. It was always on the internet there was attacking, and it was just in the news. And when the ratings are down, and our ratings kept going up, and CNN and MSNBC, or MSNDMC, I can't remember, all their ratings were going down, which means people were turning off their So it wasn't that hard. And it doesn't matter whether you were black, white, yellow, brown, gay, straight, Greg. We all felt the same way. We all felt bad. Inflation was terrible. The stories we're hearing on the borders were terrible. It was everywhere. There wasn't one group going, well, I feel wonderful right now. It was just the elites or the people on TV. And the legacy media finally overplayed their hand. You can only call somebody Hitler so many times before the American people go, enough of this stuff. So it wasn't close to me. And here's the thing, conspiracy theory. I said 10 o'clock West. This election was over like at 8 o'clock, but the networks would not announce it because they didn't want to lose ratings. They wanted people to watch. And that's what I said the whole time. I was like, this is about ratings. This election is not close. There's not one speech she gave that anybody was like, other than,
Exactly. Yeah, Julie, so that's the case. I think out there in the street, you know, people seem to know what was happening in the country, but this was like a media thing. Do you blame all of these people? They're all media people who are kind of looking back and doing the autopsy now, and they probably shouldn't be surprised, right?
I don't think people thought she was afraid to give interviews. I mean, I think that's not true. She didn't give them. I mean, I don't know what they're talking about. When you campaign for an elected position in office, you have to campaign. And it wasn't until the end of August that she actually started getting out there. And I remember early August when they finally decided to nominate her, they thought she was the best one they had in the pack. They actually said, we'll eventually get around to those interviews. And they never quite did. So I don't know what she was preparing for, but it didn't seem like she was preparing for a presidential election.
Yeah.
So she has her own self to blame for losing. I mean, she 100% did that herself.
And what was her best interview? What do you think it was? Her best interview?
I don't think there was a best.
It was Bret Baier, because he fought with her, and she kind of came back. And so, she could answer questions.
I thought you meant best as in like best performance, because she was terrible in all of that.
She was.
I thought Bret's best interview was with Kamala.
But yeah, it was substantive. She actually talked about some things. In the other interviews, it was like Nowheresville. Jeff?
Because nobody presses her, and that's the other thing. And then
Yes.
the press is going to complain that she was not treated fairly by the press when the press was kissing her ass the entire election.
Part of that problem, Jeff, the media was for her. And, her campaign manager was saying, the media was against her. They weren't asking her the right questions. It was like they were quoting from her campaign materials, were they not?
And I hesitate to make fun of Kamala because I love drunk ladies. But let me just say, this lady that we just saw did more interviews afterwards than Kamala did.
Yeah.
Like they keep going around campaigning about what went wrong. They're doing more press now than they did when she was the thing. And I will say she was afraid because she didn't go on any of the same things that Donald Trump went on. She would just go on that sex podcast called Call Her Daddy and then go, they asked me dumb questions. Yeah, stupid. You went on Call Her Daddy. They were criticizing that, I wasn't getting the same questions. It's because they wanted you to win so bad, giving you these layup questions. And anyone that might have asked you a question that was relevant and about the facts, like, I don't know, Joe Rogan, you wouldn't go on because you can only last 15 minutes in an interview chair being fed lines by Obama.
Yes, that's right. And Kat,
Thank you. Come on.
Good call. Oh my gosh.
I feel weird when they don't clap afterward.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah, and that podcast, I listened to it. They never call the daddy. They always, I was waiting for them to call the daddy. They never called him. I thought that would be the interesting part. Kat,
I'm thinking of you listening to like years worth of episodes of Call Her Daddy.
like, would you call the daddy? He probably has some good advice.
You thought it was a Christian podcast.
So, Kat, what do you think of this? Will these people ever work again? These, consultants?
I mean, the sad thing is they probably will. Yeah. But I think some of this has got to be on her. Some of it has got to be on her herself. And I always go back to The View. That was not a tough interview, but they straight up, she got the question, what would you do differently than Joe Biden's doing? Because again, the reason that they replaced Joe, other than the obvious, is that, he wasn't doing very well.
Yeah.
People weren't happy with how the way things were. And not only did she basically say nothing, she also said nothing and all this stuff that's been going on, I've been involved in all of it. I mean, that was the most softball question, huge opportunity to say, I'm proud of having done some things here, but we really need to make a change. She could have said a non-answer. She could have done her thing where she talked about the opportunity economy, which I still have no idea what that is. Do you guys? But she talked about the opportunity. She could have just said that. But to say nothing, that is absolutely crazy. So you should have the best people around you telling you, okay, setting this up, setting that up. But if you're not capable of not completely blowing maybe the easiest softball in the world, then I think that might be on you a little bit.
Yeah,
It's like Venn diagrams.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
That would have been a better answer.
It would be.
So it's Sonny Holston's fault. Sonny Holston with that tough-ass question. It's Sonny's fault.
Yeah.
Blame
The
Sonny.
lipstick on the coffee cups.
Yeah.
That was the Kamala. I almost liked that Kamala, right?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.